Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Mahua, and these type of videos, New York City content, helping you guys in general, is just very popular, I guess, on my channel specifically because what's going on? This is like the most requested video ever, and that's why I keep delivering it. I will link down below the budgeting video that I have, what it costs to live in New York City. All New York City related content that will help you move out and help you live here will be linked down below. A little background about me is that I moved out to New York City last year, and I literally lived in New York still. I lived in Long Island, which is about 35-40 minutes away. I went to school in Manhattan, so I have experience with Manhattan because I used to come very often. I used to come every single day for school, but I didn't have experience actually living in the boroughs, which was a very big wake-up call because, you know, I used to live with my parents and then I started living by myself. It was a very big transition, and I have a few things that I learned along the way that I wish I knew before. And it's not just like basic things about how much it costs to get your groceries, because those things are important, but it's a little bit more deeper than that. A lot of the questions that you guys ask me is where to look for apartments, how to actually afford it. So here are some of the things that I learned along the way. I'm gonna get right into the video because this is a very big topic and I don't want to waste your time. Make sure you like and subscribe before you follow along because I have a lot of knowledge that you probably won't hear in any other YouTube video. So something that I learned, the first thing that I learned is that a lot of places in certain areas will not accept certain Wi-Fi. So I was really excited when I first moved here because I was gonna choose the cheapest Wi-Fi plan. I thought I got it good, and then I realized that my area doesn't host that Wi-Fi, and I had the choice of just one Wi-Fi. And that was a very big wake-up call for me because I thought I had so many options, but certain areas only take certain Wi-Fis, or even certain buildings only take certain Wi-Fis. So that was a very big wake-up call for me. We're starting off slow. That is a small one, but it actually is a big thing to consider before moving out. The second thing that I learned is that apartment hunting in general is very, very competitive. So when I first started looking for apartments on streeteasy.com, apartments.com, I thought that I could just message them, just wait for them to get back to me, email me, whatever it is, and sometimes that took days or sometimes they didn't even respond. And then I realized the hard way, after months of looking, after months of getting no response, getting no tours, that these people were already getting others that were more committed into getting their apartments, because you have to really be on top of it. Not only do you have to keep refreshing these websites to be the first one in the loop to get the new updates for the new apartment, even then it's kind of repetitive, it's kind of annoying to keep doing that. But once you do find an apartment that you generally like, you have to email them, you have to call them, you have to text them, you have to be annoying and be on top of it, because I'm telling you, there's hundreds and thousands of people trying to get the same apartment, and you just have to be on top of it and be on the top priority. And don't even think that you're annoying, because these realtors at the end of the day, they want their apartments to be taken. So they need your business. So please be annoying about it, obviously with the limit, because other people will take it. And then on top of that, you also have to have your documents ready. So if you do view an apartment, there's someone else viewing it right after you and right before you. And if you aren't quick enough, literally within the second or within the day, that apartment will be taken. So you have to have all of your documents ready. You have to have your tax documents, your pay stubs, your W-2 forms, everything ready so that you can just give it to them just in case you want it right away. And if you want a more in-depth video about what it takes to move out, watch this video that I linked above of all the documents that you need to move out and how much you have to pay. Something else that I realized after moving is that you have to really fall in love with the area before you get the apartment. There have been so many times where I fall in love with the apartment and I love how it looks, but once I actually step into the area, it just feels so out of place and I'm so uncomfortable. Before you get the apartment, you tour the area, you walk around so you feel like you're at home, and then you can get a sense of the apartment. Because if you are not in love with the area, you will not feel safe, you will not feel happy in the place that you live in for so long, you know? Especially when you move out, make sure that there is public transport, there's a lot of people around you, because especially in the winter time, if you have to walk a long time to get to the subway, you will not want to go out, you know? You want to make sure that your apartment is beautiful, but on top of that, the area that you're in makes you feel at home too. With that being said, make sure you actually tour the place in person. I know sometimes you can't do that because you live in a different state or a country or whatever it is and you don't have the opportunity to actually view it. But if you are able to, you have to view the place in person and not do a virtual tour or just trust the pictures, because again, you have to feel like you belong, feel like you're at home, and you're not going to get that feel unless you're actually in the place.
A lot of apartments, for the most part, will literally put their best pictures, most edited Photoshop pictures online, obviously to get attraction, get more customers. But once you get there, it literally looks like shit. Like, once I went to an apartment to tour it, and it looked nice in the pictures, and then once I got there, there was like cockroach raid spray on the counter, and it's like, obviously they're not gonna put the cockroach spray in the pictures, so those are things that you're never gonna see in the pictures and in the listings. So make sure you go, because a lot of these places are trying to scam you with beautiful pictures that they didn't even take, that are from Google.
So a lot of people asked me how much they should save up before they move out, and obviously this varies for everyone. However much you're able to save up is really good. Something that I always say is to have at least 4 to 6 months rent, because it's so important to have that emergency money. But also when you move out, especially in New York City, you have to pay the first month of rent, which is the security deposit, and you have to pay the last month's rent. And then on top of that, you also have to usually pay a broker's fee, which is also another month of rent, or it can be 15% of the annual rent. So for example, if I pay $1,700 for my apartment, when you first move out, it's not just you pay $1,700 and you're good to go, all you have to buy is furniture. No, what you have to pay is $1,700 for the first month, second month $1,700, so right there already is $3,400. And then on top of that, if you have to pay a broker's fee, which you do for the most part, is another $1,700. So that already is more than half of $10,000, $5,100. So that's just rent. And then on top of that, obviously you have to buy like the necessities, the furniture, all of that. So it really adds up. It can go up to like 10 grand. That's just the minimum. And honestly, in my situation, I don't think I had to pay a broker's fee just because I moved out during COVID, like during the peak of COVID. You can get lucky in some instances, but for the most part, most apartments make you pay a broker's fee, regardless of if someone helped you find the apartment, just because they just want to put that fee on you for fun. Something that I also learned the hard way is that you should not fall for the glamour of rooftops and pools and all these additions in the building, because at the end of the day, you're not living on the rooftop, you're not living in the pool. And something that I had to learn is that when I first toured this beautiful apartment, it had all these luxury things. The room itself was not that great. You know, the window view was literally of the parking lot, but I fell in love with everything else, all of the amenities. And at the end of the day, all these brokers are going to try to sell you this apartment because of all these beautiful things that you fall in love with. It's the glamour that you're obsessed with, right? At the end of the day, you're living in the apartment. And if you don't fall in love with the apartment itself, you're not going to use any of the amenities in the building. And they also try to feed you this narrative that the rent is reasonable, even though it's thousands of dollars, because of all of these additives, you know? But if you don't feel at home, if you feel like you're only getting the apartment because of the rooftop, do not get it. Yes, the pool, the rooftop, all these things in the building, the gym is nice to have, but at the end of the day, you're not going to be using that every single day. You're not going to be in it 24 hours like you would in an apartment, so don't fall for that. Something else that's very important, especially if you're not from New York and you're moving here, is that a lot of people fall in love with Manhattan. They want to live strictly in Manhattan, and that means forking over thousands and thousands of dollars and being ripped off for literally a box just to have that experience. And yes, you should have the Manhattan experience, but that doesn't mean that you have to live right in the hub of the most expensive places to rent out. You can still have that New York City dream life when you literally live like 20 minutes away by subway, you know? You can live in the boroughs and still have the New York City dream. When you live in an apartment where it's so expensive you cannot even afford it, you will not be happy and you will not feel like you're actually living the American dream, the New York City dream. A lot of people think that they have to choose one or the other, where they have to either choose a very high rent but lose the American dream, or they have to choose a low rent and they're not gonna have the American dream, you know? So it's like, you don't have to choose. You can have both, but you don't have to pay a ridiculous amount of money to have that New York City lifestyle, to have that glamour and glitz. I live 20 minutes away from the city and I'm fine. I'm good. Still living the life, you know, viva la vida. The seventh thing that I learned is that you have to carry around self-defense weapons with you everywhere, like you would in any other city like Chicago, Los Angeles, anywhere. I did not have to do this when I was living in the suburbs because it was a quiet, smaller type of city. But now that I live in the city, there are unhinged people everywhere, like everywhere, in every single big city. And you have to keep yourself safe, especially in the subway, especially if you live by yourself. And it's unfortunate that you have to do that, but it's better safe than sorry. And honestly, I learned that pepper spray isn't the best, just because if you do spray it, you know, in an unfortunate case, the wind can move the spray into your face or someone else's face. So it's better to carry just like a knuckle thing, just anything to keep you safe. All right, the last wake-up call that I realized from living in New York City is that New York City is a very big hustle culture. Everyone is kind of independent, everyone is using you, everyone is constantly working. Sometimes people are working multiple jobs and not really resting because they have to keep up with the rent, keep up with the high prices in New York City. And a lot of people forget that the reason that they moved to New York City is because they want to live the life of their dreams, they want to follow their dreams, they want to have this incredible life. It's very easy to forget that when you're going through the cycle of life just constantly working. So my advice is to enjoy the moment sometimes, because a lot of people forget. A lot of people fall into depression and burnout because they're just trying to simply exist in New York City, just afford it. But once in a while, it's really nice to just do the touristy things or just take a break and just to enjoy why you moved to the city in the first place, instead of just forgetting it in the moment because you're just constantly in the cycle. I know I fall victim so many times to burnout from working too much, and I just forgot that I'm literally living in a place that I've always wanted to live in. So it's very important to take that break and to just slow down a little bit, you know? But those are all of the things that I learned living in the city, moving to the city at such a young age, and I hope it helped you in some sort. But please let me know what else you guys want to watch, because I love making these videos. I love helping you guys, but also let me know if you want like some fall New York City content, any content in general. But I hope this was transparent and it helped you. Please like and subscribe and follow me on Instagram and TikTok, where I'm very active. I post every single day. Labyrinth Ave. I also have a podcast called Difficultish, where we talk about a lot of South Asian narratives and a lot of taboo topics. And I also have a shop where I sell a lot of my art and apparel. It's labyrinthav.com. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week.